Shalom, shalom, Israel, Shabbat shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to say all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. I'd like to send out blessings out to all the Akim that are pushing his truth out in the four corners of the earth. I'd like to send out blessings out to all the Akim that are making pilgrimage to Zion 3 times in a year to the 3 pilgrimage feasts in which the Most High has commanded all the men of Israel to appear before him. And I'd also like to send out blessings out to all the Akawaf that are raising up the children in the way of the Most High, so that when they grow older, they do not depart from the way of the Most High.
Yeah, it's time to get right, get right. A rising Chinese real, have you seen your light? Your light. You are the salt of the earth, you give the earth life. Your warfare is accomplished, no more pain or no strife. That's why I pray in the daytime, yeah, I pray in the nighttime. Yeah, I pray without ceasing, yeah, I'm praying for Zion. That's how I know I'm gonna be alright.
Shalom, shalom, Israel. So before we get into our topic for today, which is continuing on with the Spanish Inquisition, we're going to go into the 3 pilgrimage feasts in which the Most High has commanded all the men of Israel to appear before him. So first we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 16, and we're going to get that to read that. So just read that for us, Zach.
3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty.
Right, so 3 times in a year, all the men of Israel are meant to appear before the Most High. And the 3 feasts that the Most High wants us to appear before him is in the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Tabernacles. Now, this isn't written once in Torah, it's written multiple times. And we always go there because we need people to understand that this is an important topic and it's something that we feel like is overlooked. It's something that isn't talked about a lot, so we don't see a lot of people talking about it. And if we're going to say that we're coming back to our culture, this is a part of coming back to the culture, which is keeping our 3 pilgrimage feasts, meaning that we should be appearing before the Most High. We should be going to the place which He chose, which we know now to be Zion. Because at the time when this was written, this was during the time when we was in the wilderness. This is when they were given the law, statutes, and commandments. At that point, the Most High hadn't chose a place, right? But when they went into the land, then He chose Zion. So now let's go to Exodus chapter 23, and we're going to read from verse 14 down to verse 17. So read that for me, Ak.
Exodus chapter 23, reading from verse 14. 3 times thou shalt keep a feast unto me in the year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee, in the time appointed of the month Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field. And the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. 3 times in the year all thy males shall appear before the Lord God.
So again, it says the exact same thing. So it says 3 times we should keep a feast to him in the year. And he says the feast of unleavened bread we're meant to keep. Then in verse 16, it says the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which is just talking about the feast of weeks because it happens during the wheat harvest. That's why it says the feast of harvest. And it happens right after you see the first fruits of the wheat come up, because then that's when you start the count the day after the feast of first fruits. Then it says the feast of ingathering, which is just another name for the feast of tabernacles. So he's talking about the exact same thing again and telling us that we're meant to appear before him 3 times in the year. So now we're going to go to Exodus chapter 34, and we're going to read verse 23 and verse 24. That's where we're going to focus on. However, if you want to know what the 3 feasts are again, we're going to show you because it's written slightly up to that. So it's from like verse 18. So when you go to verse 18, it says, the feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. Then you go down to verse 22, and it says, and thou shalt observe the feast of weeks of the first fruits of the wheat harvest. So like I said, when it says the feast of harvest, right, of the first fruits of your labors, that's what it's talking about. It's talking about the feast of wheat, because it happens, we start the count after the first fruits, and it happens during the wheat harvest. And then obviously the feast of ingathering is exactly the same, just another name for tabernacles. So now we're going to focus on verse 23 and verse 24, because the Most High tells us what the Most High is going to do, or the Most High tells us what he's going to do when we keep these 3 feasts, right? So let's read that.
reading from verse 23. And it reads, Thrice in the year shall all your men children appear before the Lord God, the God of Israel. For I will cast out the nations before thee, and enlarge thy borders. Neither shall any man desire thy land, when thou shalt go up to appear before the Lord thy God, thrice in the year.
Right, so again, it says 3 times in a year, all the men of Israel are meant to appear before the Most High. That hasn't changed, right? And then he goes on to say, and remember, we just read what those three feasts are just above. Then he tells us that he's going to cast out the nations before us. So if we want the Most High to do that for us, if we want him to cast out the nations before us, make the land undesirable to them, which he said he would do, then we need to go up to appear before him 3 times in a year. Now, from since we were going up, because we've been up a few times, we've noticed changes, right? Even up to the point where, because the Alder Mafafwa, he went up there beginning of this year, and in April, usually round where they call the Wailing Wall, there's a load of the Ish people there doing what they do, which is praying to a wall, and putting prayers in the wall, right? Which again, when you look into history, is a Roman garrison. It's not the temple, because some people try to say it's the temple or what was left of the temple, but Messiah said that there'll be no stone left on another, so that doesn't go with scripture, so that's off. But a load of people are usually there around that time, around you can say around the spring equinox or around March, April times, because that's round about when they keep their Passover, right? Or what they proclaim to be the Passover, right? Sometimes there's crosses over with ours, but they're not keeping the Passover, right? They're not keeping it, not properly anyway. So usually they're around that place, and usually there's a load of them. And when he showed the video, because we showed it like a few lives ago, we showed the video. There's barely any people there. Usually it's hustle and bustle. So that shows what the Most High is doing. The Most High is making the place undesirable to the people that are there, right? To the people that are pretending to be us. Not only that, when you look at what they call now the so-called Middle East, because the Most High gave us from the Nile to the Euphrates now, that's a large amount of land. Like when you look there, it's not just those people there, it's other people as well, all scattered across there. So when you look at it, right, you can see that in that land, all you can see is um, contention, um, famine, earthquakes, landslides, sinkholes, anything you can think of is going on down there, man. Floods, anything you can think of is going on down there, and it's the Most High making it happen because he wants the land to be undesirable to the people that are there, because he wants his people there. That's who he gave it to. He didn't give it to everybody, right? He didn't give it to everybody. So once his people are back there, then as long as we're keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, that place will thrive. That place will thrive, right? And the only reason why that place spat us out is because we weren't keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. The only reason why the Most High took us out is because we weren't keeping them, right? So right now, in this day, in this time, right, because all this war and stuff is going on there, obviously it's not advisable to be going down there because of the war, and there's not a lot of flights going in and out. So you go in, you might not be coming out for a while and stuff like that. And obviously, if you haven't got the funds or the means to be in another country for a long period of time, you're going to be stuck, proper stuck. Because obviously you don't have the same things that you would here in whatever respective countries that you're in and stuff. So it wouldn't be advisable to go now. But when there is a chance and whatever, we would say, yeah, go, because at least visit your home once. If you're gonna say that you're an Israelite, go and visit the place which your people used to dwell in. Right, the place where you're gonna end up eventually anyway, if you say you believe in the Most High, because that's the place where He wants us to be. Right? And if you can't make it for whatever reason, say in the times that is possible to make it, then pray to the Most High and maybe He'll make a way. I know that obviously some people can't go due to monetary issues or governmental issues, so you can't fly out for whatever reason. But if that's the case, then teach people about it, because at least then you're putting your brick in, you're putting your brick in, you're doing work for Zion, even though you can't go there. And maybe the Most High wants you to teach somebody that can go there because they have something to do while they're there, right? And at least then you've done your part, because then the Most High knows that you desire to go there because you've done a part to bring somebody there. Your desire is to go there, but you've told someone about it and they've gone, and the Most High wanted that to happen, right? The Most High wanted that to happen. It's like when King David wanted to build a house for the Most High, he didn't get to build it, right? But he had the plans, and he gave those plans to his son, and his son built it, right? And the Most High said, "You can't build it because you got blood on your hands, right? But your son will build it." And his son built it, and because King David desired it in his heart to the Most High, he built it. He built it because it was in his mind to build a house for the Most High, right? Even though the Most High couldn't fit into the house, or he couldn't literally live in the house, he built a house to the Most High that was in his heart, that was in his mind to want to do that. And in the same likeness, if in your heart and your mind is to visit the land, or to be there, or to visit your home, right, and you're teaching people about it because you can't make it, but you want somebody else to be at least go, right, then that's you still putting your brick in. That's still you desiring to go, and the Most High will see that, right? And that's an action towards that's an action towards going to Zion. So that's the three feasts in which the Most High has commanded all the men of Israel to appear before him. So we're going to go back into the presentation, which is of the Spanish Inquisition, and we're going to look at a few more things, and after that, then we'll go to the Hebrew word. So if you give me 2 seconds, I'm just going to pull that up on the screen. I'm going to put it up on the screen, and then we'll have a look into this. So, So where we stopped last time was at this point here, which is the African presence in Iberian art. Now, last time I was showing this, I was trying to give you the understanding that we were in Iberia, we were in Spain, we were in Portugal, we were in Europe, right? We were in the Iberian Peninsula. So anybody that says that we weren't there, we were there. We were there. We were ruling, right? And all you have to do is go into history to find out that we were there. There's even a book called The Black Tudors as well, so showing that we were in England, right? We were in England, right? There's things that show that we were in Scotland, right? We were in Scotland, because then you had was King Charles called? There was the King Charles, and he was called Black Boy, and they had the pub in Scotland, right? Let me see if I can get that up. Just so you know, because people believe that we weren't in Europe, but we were in Europe, and it was King Charles. I'm sure it was King Charles the First or Charles II. It might have been King Charles Stuart II, right? And then when you look at the picture, then it shows you that. So 1 second, I'm gonna come off there, and I'm gonna show you that as well. Just to show that obviously, like, even though we're showing like a European presence in Spain and Portugal, don't think we weren't in other places in Europe either, because we were ruling Europe, right, until the Renaissance period, and that's when things started to change. That's when they spread throughout Europe, right? So here it says Moorish kings of Europe, right? King Charles Stuart II, the black boy king of England, 1630 to 1630 to 1685, right? So here it says Merry King Charles Stuart II, the Black King of England. It says the word Stuart comes from the Nordish root Svar, right? So you say Svar or Swarthy, which he says down here actually. It says Stuart is the same word as Swarthy, which means black in Old English. So he's telling you, and if we look at him, he had afro hair, afro curly hair, right? And he looks negroid, right? But the one they'll show you now, or the picture they'll show you now, will show a Caucasian man, right? It will show you Caucasian man, but he wasn't Caucasian, right? And it says here, however, that might be, this is not the crux of our story here. Our story is about suppressed history of the black and brown Europeans, including several kings that had once called Europe their original home. So you see, this information is now coming out, right? And he was called Black Boy, and here it shows here it says that in this post we feature the original painting of the one Stuart. Of one of the Stuart kings of England and Scotland, King Charles II, also lovingly known as the Black Boy of England by his subjects. Right, and then there's pubs, like he says, he is commemorated in the celebrated name of the Black Boy Inn, found all over the British Isle. So there's different pubs, different inns, different places where people stay, and it's called the Black Boy, right, in reference to him. Right? But this was hidden, this was suppressed in history because they don't want this information out. They don't want you to know that we ruled Europe. They want you to think that we were just we were slaves the entire time. All the way from way back in the ancient world, we were just slaves. That's all they ever want you to believe, right? Did you want to add something, Kauda? Salakia.
Yeah, Salakia. I just want to give all praises to Yahweh Shema Mashiach Yahushai, and shalom to the brethren. But yeah, I just wanted to add that yeah, it's good that they mentioned the name Stuart, meaning Swazi, because he was a relative of King James, who he commissioned the translation of the scriptures. So King James, who commissioned the translation of the scriptures, he was a Stuart, and he was a relative. King Charles is a relative of his. But when you go in history now, and they bring up King James, they show him as a white man, right? So the whole family, the whole Stuart family, were Negroes. They were Negroid. But they'll try to have you believe that they're white now. All of a sudden, they turned white. You know, so it's good that you brought out the part in regards to the term Stuart, where the name originally comes from. Right. So we know that King James Stuart. He was a Stuart. That means he was black. He was a Negro. Right. The difference between King James and Charles is that Charles was a bit darker. Charles was darker in complexion. But when you see the original pictures of King James, he's a Negro with curly hair. With curly hair. And that might not even be his proper hair that on that picture. You know, that might be a wig. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you can tell he's a Negro. He's not white. You know, and they wear that type of that kind of headdress now when you go to court, because it's a royalty used to wear it. Royalty used to wear it, and they were wearing it in the crown, and they were wearing it in the court system back in the day. But they just carried on that tradition, which was done by us. Which was done by us. And all they've done is change the hair from being black to being white. So when you go into the judicial system and you're going to the high courts and they're wearing those wigs, those white wigs, it's exactly the same, it's just white. Whereas back in the day, it was black. Right? Anyway, Salakia, I'll let you continue.
Con. So yeah, so we ruled Europe, man. We ruled Europe. We were there. Right, so anybody telling you that Israelites weren't there, or so-called Negroes weren't in Europe, right, until we were brought there as slaves, they're liars. They're liars because we showed you throughout the previous presentations that we did that that we were in Spain, we were in Portugal, right? They said that the Jews in Spain and Portugal were dark-skinned people, dark-skinned man, and they fled into Africa. Right? What Caucasian man fled into Africa? Because when the Caucasians went down to Africa, they didn't go there to flee. They went there to rape, murder. That's what they went down there to do. To go steal the resources from the land. That's what they went to go and do, and that's what they did, and that's what they're still doing up until now. Up until now. Right? But they want to pretend like that place is poor. That's what they want to show on TV, and that's what they want to tell people. They want to give you that preconceived notion that Africa is a poor continent, right? All the countries in Africa are poor. That's what they want you to believe. But that place is rich, man. It's rich. There's loads of resources. There's resources there you can't get anywhere on the earth, and that's why they want to keep it a secret. That's why they want to keep it a secret. They don't want people to know that that place is rich. Right, and that's the reason why they have that notion in the earth to make sure that people don't go for it. Right, so let's go back to the presentation again. So yeah, this shows our presence. It shows our presence. It shows that we were there during those times, right? So I'm gonna show you something else as well. So now so this here, right, is a map, right, that the Ish people use, right, and on here, right, in the red, because I'm gonna zoom in a minute. I'm gonna show you different things, right? We're gonna zoom in and we're gonna have a look at all these different like all this red writing that's on the map, and they've got this so that they can go around. Because remember, we read in a lot of these excerpts that we fled into Africa. We fled into Africa, and they use this here to go down there and what they call Judaize people, right? So they're going and finding our people that are because there's our people down there that know they're Israelites. So they're going around to the people that know they are Israelites and then trying to convert them into Judaism and trying to make out like they're the same, but they're not the same because they're Esau and the true Israelites are Jacob, right? They're converts and the originals fled into Africa and fled all over, right? So let me show you, let me zoom in properly. I'm gonna stop the screen here, but I'll be able to show it better on the web browser because it will let me zoom in properly. So give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna pull this up and then we'll have a deeper look into this. So all right. So is that clear on the screen? So like
Yeah.
yeah.
Could zoom in
Okay,
a
I'm
bit.
gonna zoom in. Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna zoom in now. We're gonna have a look at different places, right? Because we scattered into Africa, but majority of us went over to the west coast of Africa. But we didn't just go to west coast of Africa. Some of us went to the east coast. Some of us went down south, right? So let's have a look, right? So the actual title of it, yeah. If you have a look down here, 1 second. So look here. So have a look down here. It says Yemen Jews and Philoshers, Berber, Moorish, and Negro Jews. Okay, so we're gonna start in the west coast, because that's the one that pretty much everyone knows, right? So we know that obviously the slave coast was down here, yeah. So this is roundabouts. This is Nigeria area. You got like Dahomey, which is now Benin. You got where the Ashanti tribe is, right? So if I go here, right, it says Levite cities, Benai Ephraim, sons of Ephraim, right? Dahomey Jews, Jewish traces, right? And all this is on there, so they go down there, and this is why when they always talk about it, they always talk about black. They use the term black Jews, right? When they always do that, they always say, yeah, some of them can be Jews, some of them could be from the ancient Jews. We're the same people. We're the same people, and that's what they're doing, going down there and trying to assimilate or trying to get them to come into Judaism, when we have nothing to do with Judaism, we have nothing to do with religion, right? They follow the Talmud, and the Talmud is wicked and evil. It's demonic, right? It's demonic, and that's what they're trying to get our people to follow, right? So this is part of the West Coast now. So let's go up here now. This says Judeo paganism, right? And remember, they call a lot of our practices paganism. They call a lot of our practice paganism, and this is what that's what they're trying to do now. So it says Judeo paganism because they're trying to say they mix paganism with Jewish customs, but our customs were never their customs. So they're looking at it and thinking, oh, it's paganism, but it's not, right? So here it goes. There you got Lam once a Jewish colony. Then it says here Jewish kingdom of Granada. Then it says medieval Jewish kingdom of Kamnuri, right? So then we go up some more. We've got Benai Musa, right? We've got another one here which says Jewish. I can't read that properly here, but you can see that they know we're there, right? And they use this map to go and find us. Right, and then try to get to them before we do, right? Then you got the Berber Jews. Then you got the whole Jews, right? You got traditions of Jewish garrisons. Then you come over here, you got Yahwism, because that's us as well. Yahwism, followers of Yah. Right, followers of Yah or studiers of Yah. Right, then you got Abvidos, and because now we're going to the East Coast, right? Because I didn't even mention that. Now we're going to the East Coast, right? So we weren't just in the West Coast. Some of us fled to the East, right? So you got Yahwism, you got Abdos Jews, you got Jew garrison, Elephantine Jewish garrison. You got Hebrew, you got a pre-exile Yahwism, right? So they would have been keeping ancient customs there. The Falashas, right? Tabiban Jews, right? Yemen Jews, right? So even some of our people, are you gonna find in like Ethiopia, what's the place called? Eritrea, Somalia. You're gonna find some of our people there too.
Sudan. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Sudan. Right? All those different places you're gonna find our people. Hang on, I just seen something a second ago. Yeah, but you see here, Judaized in pre-Muslim time. Pre-Muslim time, that's us as well. Right? Jewish traces. Right, coming down to round about where like the Congo is and stuff like that, the Mavumbo Jews, right, the Wando Jews.
Yeah, and that's all in the old document. That's all in the old books. The Rwanda, they were sending us from Europe, and Saint Thomas. You know, you got the island. There's that little island on the west coast. It says Saint Tome. It just enlarged again.
The San Tome Jews, yeah.
Yeah, Saint Tome. That's where they were sending us. That's where they were sending us from Spain and Portugal. Right, and
the Thomas,
and Rwanda, right,
yeah.
And those that were fleeing, they were fleeing to like Nigeria, right, and Benin and Ashanti, right, because they knew that that's where we'd fled to. And if you zoom out a bit, right, and you have a look at the map, you see all the area, where you see that we are. Right, because you
Mhm.
see all the areas, right? You can see where we are that crosses Africa, right?
Mhm.
In other maps, it calls it Negro land,
Yeah, all
right?
up
And
here.
it was also called uh,
Sudan, so you there.
Sudan,
Yeah.
right? So what they do every so often is they change the maps and change the names to keep people confused.
Mm.
And this map here, right? This is only a small portion of the map. This is only showing Africa.
Mm.
The real map, this real map, it shows not just Africa, it shows the East as well. It's one big map, right? And it shows the East. It shows us in Japan. It shows us in China. It shows us in India. Another thing is, you know, where it says Medina, right? You know where it says Arabia.
Mhm.
If you expand it, if you make it bigger, go to the right. It says Arabia. You got Medina. It's Medina, and you got Mecca beneath it. So you got Mecca. If you go up from
Yeah,
Mecca,
there you go. Okay, yeah. Mhm.
you see Medina,
Mhm.
right? We used to own that. The only reason why Medina became Islamized is because Muhammad, right, um, came against the Israelites that were there
Mhm.
and conquered them, killed them for no reason, because or just because they didn't want to believe in his garbage religion,
Mhm.
and that's how it became Islamized. Right? This is a big history. It's not. It's not a small history. But what you know, to look at this map, we're just dealing with Africa, but the real map gives you the full picture, the full scale. So it'd be worth you know, if you're having a look at this, to see if you can get the full map of Africa and the East, because this shows you that the Most High, he said he's going to scatter us all over among all the nations, you know, and this shows and gives a good idea of what the creator was talking about, right? So like, I'll let it continue.
Mhm. Right, Khan. So
And,
even
and
on
you know as well,
oh,
just
okay.
before you get going again, if you go
Mhm.
to Yemen, if you go to Yemen, so if you zoom out and you got Yemen Jews, right? You know, Yemen, the Yemen area. So Yemen is just underneath Arabia, the word Arabia. You've got Yemen, you see,
Yeah.
Yemen, right? And Yemen Jews, right? Lembasay, the Lembasay, they crossed over. They came down into Yemen. They crossed over into the Horn of Africa, and zoom out, right? And then they traveled down the coast of Africa, down the Horn of Africa, right the way down south to where they are today, and that's their oral history. Right. So if you get the full map, you'll find Jews down near South Africa, which will be the Lemba. Right. So, like, I'll let you continue.
Khan. And that goes with what you're saying down here, because down here it says Jewish traces.
Right.
They walk across the coast and there's Jewish traces down here. It's telling you.
Right.
Mm. And up here as well, I missed this as well because it says Sidon Jews, and then up here it says Carthage, um, Tunis Jews.
Yeah.
Obviously, Tunisia's up here.
We used to run Carthage. We were in Carthage.
Mm. So then obviously Spain's right here. So all they've got to do is, and you can see how close it is in terms of them going from Spain to Africa. Well,
Yeah.
obviously it's not like super close. Obviously they got to go across the sea, but it's close enough. It's close enough for them to get there in a relatively short time.
Right.
Right, relatively short time. So it was easy for them to travel between Spain and Africa. So obviously when we were traveling, that's where we went. We traveled either across the coast down to the west coast of Africa, or we would have went to the north and then gone down the coast then walked down the coast, and then took over the west coast of Africa. Right, but this map shows that we were in Africa. Right, we still are in Africa, but what it is they're using this to go and basically Judaize our people when we have nothing to do with Judaism,
Right.
and they're trying to make out like that was the ancient customs. It wasn't, has nothing to do with us, and never has, never will. Right, so all you gotta do is if you search like actually I can send the link, to be honest. I'm gonna put the link in the description so you can have a look at the map yourself when you've got like a bit of free time.
Yeah, they should try and get the full map, because this one is just showing Africa.
Do you know what the full map's called? Because this is just a clip of it.
What's the name of the map?
It just says Yemen Jews and Falasha, Berber, Moorish, and Negro Jews. That's the name of the actual.
Yeah, I know, because that's the thing. The thing is, you need to know the name of the cartographer, right? To get the actual name. I can't remember the name of the cartographer off the top of my head, but you'll be able to find it. You'll be able to find it. It's just called Yemen Jews and Falasha Jews, Berber, Moorish, and Negro Jews. I just can't remember off the top of my head what the name of the cartographer is. Does it give you the name of the book?
No.
Okay, you can.
It just says
carry on.
page. Sorry, yeah. But Yemen, Falasha, Berber, Moorish, Negro Jews, page 257. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
You carry on. I'll see if I can have a quick look for it.
Okay. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. So yeah, so have a look at that map when you get a chance, because that will show you where and roundabouts we were in Africa, right, or where we are in Africa now, or where you'll find traces of us. So let's read Matthew chapter 13, verse 24 to verse 30, because this is what they're doing now, right? While we were sleeping, they've been doing all these maps and they've been going down there and trying to assimilate with us, right? So read this scripture for us, Zach.
Matthew, Matthew chapter 13, and reading from verse 24. Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, and went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy have done this. The servants said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? But he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares, ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn.
Right. So when you read this parable, right, that Messiah was talking, right, it says the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man that sowed good seed in his field. Right. So this is talking about the Most High and him putting and Messiah and putting good seed on it and having the earth, right? Because the kingdom of heaven is going to be on the earth, and he sowed good seed in the field, right? And the good seed is the righteous of Israel. And he says, but while men slept, so while we were sleeping, while we weren't awake, right? Because we didn't understand the truth, or we didn't have understanding, we didn't have wisdom. The Most High put us to sleep, right? Where we forgot our heritage, we forgot who we were. And while this was happening, because remember, all these things have happened while we haven't understood who we were anymore. We just thought we were black, Puerto Rican, Jamaican, Mexican, anything you can think of, right? We thought all these different nations, right? All these different names. That's what we thought. And all they did was sow tares among us. So they came and assimilated with us, lived with us, and tried to make us into what they wanted us to be, right? And so that we didn't know who we were still, right? And that's why it says that while we slept, he sowed tares among us, right? And then he says, but when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So they grew with us now. So now there's people acting like us, walking like us, talking like us, people that look like us because they've assimilated and lived with us, right? And they've had children with our people, right? So it's mainly the males of the other nations having children with our women, and they look like us, but they're not us. They're not us because your pedigree comes from your father. So anybody that's any man from another nation that had a child with an Israelite woman, that child will always be what the father is. So now there's people out here that look like us but aren't us, right? And they grew with us, so now it looks like they are us because you know when you go around certain people, then you'll take traits from that people,
Go on.
right? So it says, so the servants of the household came unto him and said, didn't you? So it's like the angels. They came and said, yo, didn't you put good seed down, right? And then the sower said, you know, it's because the enemies come, and while we were sleeping, the enemies come, and he's put the tares in there. And then they asked like, "Wow, should we take the tears out?" And he says, "No, don't take the tears out now, because if you take the tears out now, you're gonna take up you're gonna take up the seed with it, the good seed with it, right?" And that's what they said. And the reason why that is because if we were still trusting of our enemies and we didn't understand that there's people amongst us that are look like us, walk like us, talk like us, they actually look like us. But if we didn't understand that and they tried, they came and took us too early or tried to take us too early, a lot of us that have understanding now, right, wouldn't have had understanding then. So we would have fallen with those people trying to fight for people that weren't our people because we wouldn't have had that understanding. It would have been way too early for us to be saved, right? So we had a time and a process to happen where we're growing together, because when we, even though we're growing together, remember the Most High is only going to impart knowledge onto His people, right? So He's not imparting the same knowledge on them as us. So while we're with them, even though they're getting some understanding because they're around us, they're not going to get all the understanding that we have. So then when we get to a point when we realize, you know, there's people around us that will look like us but are not us, right? Then we'll have to understand that, you know, if they get taken and they're doing all this wickedness, we don't feel affiliated or attached to them, because we understand that, you know, we want to follow the Most High, right? And we're not going to be hand in hand with our enemies, so we know that's a possibility. Otherwise, if it was taken too early, that wouldn't be the case. We wouldn't have that, right? So it says when the harvest is ready, right? Meaning that when they're ready, then take them up, because then you know, you'll get the most, you get all the good seed out, and then you combine the tares together and burn them, and you can put the good seed or the good wheat in the barn, right? But it has to be the right time and the right place, right time and the right place. So let's go now to the next article, right? So this one is from let me see if I can select here. If you bear with me for 2 seconds, I'm going to tell you exactly where this is from. So the link's at the top. I'm going to tell you exactly where it's from. So this is from the Low County Digital History Initiative, right? And it's from the digital library at the or Low Country Digital Library at the College of Charleston. So it's a college in Charleston, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the act to read this little excerpt here, right? And just here, this shows you the or it tells you what this is about, right? So just read that for me, Ak.
So it says charter granted by Emperor Charles the Fifth. Or is that the fourth?
Fifth.
Fifth. To Lorenzo de Garivad for permission to transport slaves. Spain, 18th of August 1518, courtesy of the Archival General de Indias, Sevilla, Spain, or Sevilla, Spain, before 1518. The slave trade was highly regulated and consisted mostly of slaves being sent from Spain to the Americas directly by the Spanish government. However, Emperor Charles V opened the transatlantic slave trade on a massive scale. On the 18th of August, on August 18th, 1518, when he granted a charter to Lorenzo de Garivad, giving him permission to transport 4,000 slaves directly from Africa to the Spanish American colonies. He circumvented the legal statute established by Fernando and Isabel that slaves must have been born in Spain by allowing Africans to enter the Americas, provided they convert during the voyage.
Right. So they sent a charter, right? This was a charter, and the charter was to make it okay for them to take Israelites from Africa and take them into Spanish colonies, right? And they've still got records of this stuff. They still got records because that's what this is here, right? And this is all so that because the scripture says that that the nations are going their own tongue is going to fall upon themselves. So all this stuff that they've recorded, even though they don't bring that out to light, right? So everybody can see it, they have it hidden, right? And all it takes now is for us to go and search it out, right? All it takes is for us to go and search it out. Because even if they were tried, they tried to get rid of all the evidence. Now it's too late. It's too late. There's too much evidence, and there's too many things out there that incriminate them and show the truth, right? Incriminate them and show the truth, right? And at the end of the day, right, the Most High is gonna wake. He's gonna wake up his people. He's waking up his people now, right, and getting us to this understanding, right? And he's showing us what happened, right? And he's showing us um how we got to the curses, right, or how the curses played out that he said would play out, right? Which brings me into the next page, which shows Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68, right? So read that for me, Ak.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and reading from verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Right. So the Most High said he's going to bring us into Egypt again with ships. Now we know Egypt is just a Greek word, right? But it means the house of bondage, or it means bondage, right? So let's read it with that understanding. So it says, "And the Lord shall bring thee into bondage again with ships." Right. And the reason why we know it's not talking about the literal Egypt, because he says, "By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again." Because when we looked back and we were afraid when Pharaoh and his men were coming for us, the Most High said, "Look back, because you're not going to see this again. You're not going to see this place again." Right. You're not going to go back there. You're not going to go in slavery there again. Right. So the fact that the Most High is saying this, he's showing us that we weren't going to go back in slavery in literal Egypt again, but we're going to go into bondage again, right? But he says this time with ships, and we don't need to go into Egypt with ships. So if that's the case, right, people need to show us in history where we were taken to Egypt in ships. They would need to show that. I know they can't, but they would need to show that. They would need to show it, and they will never be able to, because it's not a thing that happened. And it says, "And now we shall be sold unto our enemies for bondmen and bondwomen," right? We were sold unto them for slave men and slave women. That's what happened. "And no man shall buy us," meaning no man was going to redeem us out of that. No one was going to take us out of our captivity. Right? It has to be the Most High, because the Most High is going to be the one that saves us out of our captivity. Right? using his only begotten son, because his only begotten son is going to come. He's going to send his only begotten son with vengeance, right? Because like the Messiah says, the day of vengeance is in his heart, man. It's in his heart. That day is coming. That day is coming, right? But which leads me again onto the next scripture, right? So we're going to remember, right, who we are. Start to get understanding. Start to understand how these curses unfold, why these curses unfolded, right? And this takes us through that, right? So this is Deuteronomy 30. We're going to read from verse 1 to verse 7. So first, I'm going to get you to read this portion. So just read that for me.
Deuteronomy chapter 30, and reading from verse 1. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither the Lord thy God have driven thee, and shall return unto the Lord thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God have scattered thee.
Right? So the Most High says that when all these things are come upon us, the blessings and the curse, and once the blessings and the curse are come on us, right? And he says, and we call them to mind amongst all the nations whither the Lord thy God has driven us. So when we start to remember, when we kept the commandments, blessings came upon us, right? When we didn't keep the commandments, curses came upon us, right? When we start to remember that, and when we start to understand that, all the way up until when King David came, right? Yeah, we had our ups and downs, but that was the King David. When King David was on the earth, that was the height of our kingdom, because everyone was afraid. People were paying taxes, right? People paying taxes to King David because they were afraid, right? And when Solomon sinned, that's when the split in the kingdom happened, and that's when things went down, and that's when we were in captivity after captivity after captivity. So we started to understand that. So that's where we are now, right? Starting to remember who we are and what happened to us, right? Starting to remember the blessings and the curses, right? Wherever we are, scattered to the four corners of the earth, right? And he says, and then we return to him, right? Meaning that we have to start keeping his law, statutes, and commandments with all our heart, mind, body, and soul, us and our children, right? It says, then he's going to turn our captivity. So there's a stipulation: keep my laws, statutes, and commandments, return to me, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand, and then I will turn your captivity, right? So let's continue on. So verse 4 to verse 7,
Reading from verse 4. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. And the Lord thy God will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed, to love the Lord with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee.
right? So it says that if any of them be driven to the outmost parts of heaven, so if anyone's on the further ends of the earth, the Most High is still going to gather us from wherever we are, scattered across the four corners of the earth. And it says that he's going to bring us into the land which our fathers possessed, and we're going to be greater than them. He says he's going to multiply us above our fathers, right? And then he says that he's going to circumcise our heart, right? Meaning he's going to give us a new heart. He's going to put us under the new covenant, and we're going to love the Most High with all our heart, mind, body, and soul. Meaning that we're going to keep the laws, such commandments, second nature, man. It's going to be second nature to us. It's going to be straightforward. We're not going to have to think about it. We're not going to have to teach each other, right? And then he says he's going to put the curses that are on us, on our enemies, right? And that's showing the switch up. That's showing the change up, because that's what's coming, right? Because as much as they had their Spanish Inquisition, they had all these different things, right? We're going to stop them from keeping their customs because it's wicked, but we're going to get them to serve the Creator. That's what we're going to get them to do. Right? That's what we're going to get them to do, because the Most High has things he wants them to do, right? Because one of them is keep the Feast of Tabernacles, and any nation that's left of all the nations that doesn't come up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, they're going to have what the scriptures call the plague of Egypt on them, meaning there's not going to be no rain. No rain means no crops, no food, which means famine, right? So either serve the Creator or don't serve the Creator, but what that's going to happen is if you don't serve the Creator, is death. That's it. That's it. But the Most High is going to make that clear, right? He's going to make that clear, right? So continuing on, let's go to Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1 to verse 2. Read this for us, Ak.
Isaiah chapter 14, reading from verse 1 to verse 2. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them, and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors.
Right, so this shows that the Most High is going to have mercy on us. He's going to choose us once more, and he's going to set us in our own land, because that's literally what Deuteronomy 30 says as well. And says, and the strangers are going to be joined with us, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Now, how is that going to happen? Right, we're going to take them and bring them to our place, and we're going to possess them, meaning they're going to be our servants and handmaids, right? And we're going to take them captives, whose captives we were, right? Like the scripture says, all the curses that was put on us is going to be put on them. It's the flip, it's the reverse, right? That's what's happening, and we're going to rule over our oppressors. We're going to rule over them, right, with a rod of iron, the same way they ruled over us with a rod of iron, right? No sparing, no sparing. No respect of young or old, right? We're going to be getting them to serve the Creator. And how are they going to serve the Creator? By serving us, doing the menial tasks that we don't have time to do anymore, because we're going to be doing the services of the Creator. That's going to be our job, right? That's going to be our job, and that's what we're going to be doing, right? But we're going to rule over our oppressors, right? So let's go to the next scripture, right, which is Revelation chapter 21, and we're going to read from verse 10 to verse 12, right? Read that for me, Ak.
Revelation chapter 21, and reading from verse 10. And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel.
Right? So this is talking about New Jerusalem, right? And when New Jerusalem comes down, right, when New Jerusalem is on the earth, right, it's going to have 12 gates, and the 12 gates are going to have the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel written on them. So it's for the 12 tribes, it's for the children of Israel, right? So as much as we've been through all of this is our redemption time, right? This is our redemption time, but we need this information to go out there, right? So that people know and understand what happened to us, where we went, right? And that's why it says when you remember, right, when you remember the blessings and the curses which are put on the book, because this is us remembering the curses. Us talking about this is us remembering the curses. That's what this is.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing. We're remembering the curse. We're remembering the things that happened to us. So when we talk about the Spanish Inquisition, when we talk about the scramble for Africa, when we talk about the transatlantic slave trade, when we talk about the sub-Saharan slave trade, right? When we talk about all of these things that happen to our people, that's what we're doing. We're getting you to bethink yourself. We're getting you to remember yourself. We're getting you to know your own history, because that history isn't going to be taught by your enemy. I'll tell you that much. Your enemy's not going to teach you that. Your enemy don't want you to know who you are, because the more you know, because that's why the saying out there goes, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, man. So if you want power, get your knowledge up, and start to remember who you are. Right? Did you want to add something out there, Salakia?
Yeah, I was wanting to say, I mean, I had a look for that map. Found the one that you showed, which is showing the Africa, but I didn't find the Asian. But it's in the same book, but I just can't remember the name of the book.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, to what you're saying, it's facts. What you're saying, knowledge is power, and the scripture says, right, that that Elijah is going to come, and he's going to turn the hearts of the children
to the fathers.
to the fathers.
Mm.
and the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers. And it also says that seek ye the old paths.
Mm.
In fact, get that scripture up, man. Get it up. Get that one. Seek ye the old paths, right? Because the Creator, right? The old paths is what the Creator wanted in the beginning. From the days of Adam, right? He set out what he wanted us to do as human beings. And the chosen line was Adam, because there was other men on earth before Adam, right? Man was created on the fifth day, but Adam was created on the sixth day, right? So there were men on earth before Adam. Adam was the chosen seed line, the chosen spirit line, right? That the Most High was going to talk to the world with, talk to the people that he brings on the earth, the spirits he brings on the earth, right? So read this for me.
Jeremiah chapter 6 and reading from verse 16. Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see and ask for the old paths.
Right.
Where is the good way?
Right.
And walk therein.
And walk therein, read.
And walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls.
And who says that? Who says that? Messiah says that, right? He says, my burden is easy. My yoke is easy, or my burden is light. Right? And I don't want to butcher it, but he says that basically if we take up his yoke, we will find rest for our souls. Right? Rest for our soul. And what did Messiah come doing? Keeping the freaking commandments.
Mm-hmm.
And telling us to follow every word that comes from the mouth of God. That's what he came telling us. He came keeping all the law, statutes, commandments, and doing everything his Father sent him to do, and told us to do the same thing. Because that's how we find rest for our souls, because then the Most High will be pleased with us and he will bless us. But read on. What did we say?
We will not walk therein.
But they said we will not walk therein, and that's the reason why we don't have rest for our soul. It's not a mystery. It's not a mystery. But the point is what Eva is saying, is that you've got to educate yourself. You got to seek the old paths. You got to study. Right? Religion doesn't teach you to study.
Mm-hmm.
Religion teaches you to follow man-made doctrines, man-made ideologies. That's what religion teaches you to do. Men of the Creator, the children of God, teach you to follow the Creator, not their own ideologies and their own dogma. Right? So it was very important what you were bringing out. So I thought I had to interject and give my opinion on it too, because you're 1000% right. So Lucky, I'll let you continue.
Con. So yeah, so our enemy isn't going to tell us that. They don't want us to know that. They don't want us to have that understanding. So that's why it's important that we get the understanding for ourselves, because if we don't, then we'll be left to fall again, because that's the problem with our people. We're too trusting back then. We're too trusting now. Right? And it shows in how our people are, because they're in other countries, right? They don't know that. Well, they know really that they don't really belong there, because you were brought there from slavery, right? But they're out here voting for their enemies to go over them, right? And they're voting for two of their enemies to go over them. So which one's going to be slave master over them? Because I don't know if anybody's ever seen the video where they show like the slavery time, and basically how the one of the slave masters calls another guy, because this guy is meant to know how to get efficiency from their slaves, right? So he calls him, and he comes and he says, what we're going to do is we're going to do a vote for them. We're going to make them vote, Because if they vote, they're gonna feel like they had some sort of say in what happens here. And if they feel like they've got a say, they're gonna work harder. So they make them vote. Who do you want to be over you? Right? So one of them was the nice guy, and one of them was the bad guy. Right? So they had obviously the new guy being the good guy, the old guy being the bad guy, and they obviously picked the person that was pretending to be good. Right? So when they were doing that, because they thought they had some sort of say, they were working harder, and that's what they've done now. They've
Right.
given you a full sense of freedom, and they made you pick which one's going to be your slave master.
Right.
Can't-
And that's the spirit, and that's the spirit that made you go onto that. That's the spirit that made you go onto that. Right?
Mhm.
Because that word vote is a Latin word. And that word vote, right, goes back into witchcraft. So when people vote, they are actually doing witchcraft. And they don't know. They don't know. And that's the thing. The thing is, these things which are set up in the earth, right, this voting system, because people vote, but it's not their vote that puts people in charge. The people in charge are elected. They're elected by the elite. But to vote, when a person votes, they are doing witchcraft. And that's how they're keeping this system going. That's how they're keeping it running. Have a look at it. Look it up. Look it up. Look at the meaning of the word vote and go into the etymology and where it's coming from. It's like Donald Trump, make America great again, right? And then they shorten it to MAGA. That MAGA is dealing with witchcraft. It's dealing with witchcraft. You got to go into the old promise to a God. See, it's a promise, a vow, a wish, promise to a God.
Like the elder says, it's the illusion of inclusion.
Right, and what you want to do is go into the old Latin word, the Latin word.
Yeah, it says it here. It says from votum.
Votum, that's right.
It says from Latin, votum, and then it tells you what votum means here.
Right.
Yeah. So it says
A
a vow, a wish, a promise to a god, a solemn pledge, dedication.
And then there's other books, there's other dictionaries, right, that go into the earlier meaning. Go into the earlier meaning, and it's to do with witchcraft. There's older dictionaries that go into the meaning before it was updated to what we know it today, and it tells you what it's really about.
You just put votum meaning in, and it says a vow or promise made to a deity. That's literally what it is.
That's what it is. It's
Yeah.
witchcraft.
Mhm.
So all these people that have millions of people voted in England for the
Prime Minister and stuff.
Prime Minister. Millions of people voted in America the other day. Whenever countries are want to have an illusion that there's somebody new over them, they have to go and do this ritual. It's a ritual. It's a ritual. And whilst this ritual is going on earth, the Most High, the real creator, he ain't going to come here. He ain't going to put his power here. And when people don't know, they don't know what they're doing. They're just following what's been set up in the earth by these demons, by these elitists who are serving the devil. They're serving the spirits on the left-hand side, and the spirits on the left-hand side have a right to be here because the Israelites are not serving the Creator. They have a right to be here, And until we start to serve the Creator, they can stay here. And if they can stay here, that means we will stay at the bottom. That's why what you're saying is so important. Because unless people go and get educated, put in MAGA, put MAGA in. Let's see what MAGA is, because they're pushing
in
MAGA.
Latin. In Latin, is it Latin that is?
Yeah, yeah.
Which
so people don't understand what's going on. They don't understand what's happening on the earth. But until people start to educate themselves and start to listen to the prophets of God, start to listen to the Israelites, this world, and the reason why this world is starting to, become topsy-turvy, there's so much things happening, is because the Israelites are waking up. And when we start waking up and we start calling on the name of the Most High, right, then things start to change in the earth. That's why the earth is starting to become tumultuous. That's why there's wars, people on the brink of wars. There's tornadoes. Did you see what happened to Spain the other day? You had about 3 different days of flooding where they've had a year worth of rain in a day. In a day, and it's 2 days, two separate days they've had it on. Look at all the things which are happening on the earth in the last decade, and which, when you go into the history of what you call meteorology, studying of weather patterns and stuff like that, these things have never happened on the earth. Never. Some of these things have never taken place, and some of them have only taken place once in 200, 300, 400 years. But all of a sudden, they're happening frequently, nearly every year. Why do you think that's happening? It's because the Israelites are waking up. And the more of us wake up, the more of these things will come on earth. The more of us accept who we are and start to return, the more these things will happen on the earth, until we are freed from the situation until the Most High says, okay, enough is enough. It's time to go for them. It's time to go and take them out of the punishment that I put them in. This is what it's about. This isn't a game. This isn't religion. This is how the world works. Right? So what you were bringing out was very important, and I know it's the spirit because you. I was going to talk about voting after you finished speaking, and then all of a sudden you went on to vote. And I thought to myself, that's the spirit. Spirit put that on you. The spirit put that on you to speak about that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So all these people doing their voting, and all they're doing is casting spells on the earth.
Mm-hmm.
They're casting spells on the earth. And that's why that's why you go to an Israelite and you try to talk to them, right? And some of them, it's like talking to a brick wall. And you give them understanding, you give them nuggets of truth and understanding, you give them a means to get more understanding, and do they come back to you? No, they just go about their life like nothing's happening. Because the veil of darkness is on the earth. That's the reason why. And every year, just like they keep Christmas and Easter, all witchcraft, and that's spreading spells on the earth. Mother's Day, spreading spells on the earth, right? Christians worshiping the devil on Sunday is casting spells on the earth. So our job, right, as the leader of GMS says, right, Tahar says, our job is to push this truth out, right, to what's it called, ad nauseum, till you're sick of it, till people are sick of hearing it. That's our job. That's our job. Because our job is to bring down strongholds, is to take down the strongholds of this world. If people don't know they're committing witchcraft, when they vote. If we don't tell them, how are they going to know? If people saying, oh, MAGA, oh, make America great again, and they've got MAGA on their hat, MAGA on a t-shirt, they're just pushing witchcraft on the earth. And if we don't tell them, how are they going to know? It's our job to make sure they know. And especially the Israelites, it's your job to go and study and to learn about the world you're living in. So you can tell your other brothers and sisters what not to do and what to do. Right? With that, I'm gonna make you continue, or else I'll carry on all night. Because the Spirit's on me now, so I'll let you continue, or else I'll take over. So like
So I think that was the last slide anyway. So if you wanted to,
that was the last slide.
Talking, yeah, this was the last slide. Yeah, Revelation 21. Yeah. So thank you for watching. I don't know if you wanted to add anything.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this lesson, right, was brought out to deal with the Spanish Inquisition, and what you're going to do, what you're going to find out in the history, that the Inquisition morphed into something else later on. So the initializing of it, the inception of it, was for the Israelites. But once they had subdued the Israelites and gotten rid of any Israelites that didn't want to follow, they got rid of them, they expelled them, right? But the Israelites that were left behind, who were slaves, who became subservient, once that all took place, then it morphed into something else. The Inquisition morphed into sedition. Anybody who's speaking against the crown or the king, anybody who's plotting against the crown or the king or against the government, and it morphed into that. So when historians talk about it, they'll talk about it on that level. They won't talk about it on the inception of it. But the inception of it, the reason why it was formed was for the Israelites. Once the Israelites were subdued, right, and vanquished, then it morphed into another thing. But we're not bothered about what it morphed into. We're looking at the reason why it was created. It was for the Israelites, and they don't tell you that. They keep that out of the education system. And the reason why they do that is because they would have to explain why were the Jews being kicked out of Spain and Portugal and Europe and going to Africa? They'd have to explain that. So they don't talk about that. What they say, it's about witchcraft. It's about witches. It's about warlocks. It's about everything else other than what it was really about. Mm-hmm. And that's how demonic and wicked the system that we are living in is. That's how wicked it is. Because those who are teaching, who set the curriculum, they know the history. They know the history. You can't set a curriculum without knowing the history. And they set the curriculum to make sure Negroes don't find out who they are, where they're coming from, and what their job is and role and purpose is on the earth. That's the reason why they set it. Right? And that's the reason why of recently, right, they're trying to take out the history of the slave trade, trying to change the narrative, trying to say we don't want to teach that in schools because the white children will be upset. Who cares? History is history. They got to live with their ancestors' choices. I had to live with mine. They're not. Their soul and their mind and their emotions ain't no more important than a black kid's emotions. Why would I care about them? Teach the truth. Just teach the truth. And if it's the truth against us, we have to suck it up. There's a lot of wicked Negroes. There's a lot of wicked Israelites. We have to suck that up. When they're showing us on the TV our women twerking and being whores and promoting that bullshit, and our men being whoremongers and drug dealers promoting all that, we have to suck it up. When they say, "Oh, look at them, look at their degenerate behavior," we have to suck it up, right?
Go on.
But they don't want their little Edomite picnic babies to suck up their bullshit, the shit that they've done. They want to cover them in bubble wrap so that they don't get hurt. Well, them days are over. Them days are over. Feelings are not in the equation, whether it be Israelite or whether it be a heathen. Feelings are not in the equation. The truth is the truth, like it or lump it. And our job is to push the truth. And as Tahar says, to ignore him, or whatever the word is, right? Until people don't want to hear it no more. They're sick of hearing it. That's what he's saying. And that's 1000% true. That's our job. Until we break through these strongholds. But while there's still voting going on, and while there's still this MAGA bullshit that they're pushing on the earth, and all the witchcraft that being done on the earth, you can't even wake up a day without casting witchcraft, because you have to say the names of demons. You have to call the days of the week by the names of demons, of devils. So until we put on the armor of God, and that's what the armor of God is to come against everything which goes against the will of the Creator. That's the armor of God, because we're in a war. We're in a war. We're fighting a spiritual war, a spiritual battle. It's not physical, not yet anyway. It's going to become physical later on, but it's not physical yet. We have to beat the spiritual side first, and then the Most High will give us power to subdue the physical side. Because it always starts in the spirit first, right? It doesn't start in the physical first. It starts in the spirit, right? With that, I'm going to let you continue, or else I'll you know me already. Once the spirit's on me, it's on me, man. Right? So I'll let you continue, Salaki.
Con. So I'm gonna pass it over to the Ak. He's gonna go through the Hebrew today. If you bear with me for a second.
So you're not putting it up now, are you? I'm sharing my screen.
Oh yeah. You share it to me then.
I can't share it. I got to share my screen, innit? So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Share it to me and I'll put it on the thing for you.
I don't know if it will let me. Window, Safari, share. Yep. Chrome has lost permission to capture your screen. Bear with me. Unlock this screen. Okay. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna have to go into my settings. Saying that it won't let me share my screen. Where did it say go? Permissions. Okay. Let's try it again. Bear with me, guys. Trying something new now, so we'll see all the things can go wrong. Why Unless I'll have to do it in here, but I don't know if this will let me know. Gosh, I should have tried this. We should have tried this previously. It literally says go to system preferences, unlock this screen by selecting the lock button in the left corner. There's no lock button. Give me a sec. I am having a look through the settings now. I'm trying to find the permissions. It might be a case of not using. Let me see if I can just do it through this thing. Tell me if you can see this one. Let's see if it will let it. On Chrome, because I was trying to show a completely different window. Let's say this tab. Okay, share that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do it like this for now. We did have a whiteboard app. I mean, I could open it on here as well, and we can switch between in 1 second. It doesn't want to let me switch between browsers, you see. So I was trying to do it on. So if I go here and get that app, give me a second.
Yeah, I would have dropped out, but I can't add him back because he's got devices. It says devices not connected. You might have to leave again and come back, and then see if your device connects. Oh, there you are.
So can you see the screen now?
Yeah, can you?
Okay, so bear with me. So I have to redo up this thing. So basically today says Shalom, welcome to this part. We're trying something new, so bear with us. Well, you can't see it because I haven't shared this screen yet. Share this tab.
Oh, the whiteboard. Sorry, I thought you said
Yeah.
what
Okay.
you were showing then.
No. Okay, so we're gonna be looking at exactly what I was showing. So first I'll show it and then we'll do a little bit of drawing. So let's go back to this then. Okay, so you can see this. Today we're going to be looking at Aleph. What we were doing before, we were taking Hebrew words, picking words, specifically words that were biblically common. People might want to know the actual breakdown. Because as we've said many times, Hebrew as a language, not only is it one of the oldest languages that they know, and it's a lot older than Arabic, like almost twice as old. Even they will tell you that. And they know that this language is the language that's of the scriptures. They'll call it biblical Hebrew. So it's important that we learn this language and not just learn it on the level that, okay, we can speak it, we know the modern script, but it's important, or it's imperative, that we learn it to get the true understanding and meaning. And we were speaking, and the beautiful thing about the Hebrew is that there's so many meanings in just a letter. Never mind being a lot in a word. There's a lot in a letter as well, in a single letter. So today we're going to pick one and possibly two. We'll see how much we get out of the first one. And the first one, again, in the Hebrew language, is the Aleph. Now, the Aleph is very, very, very important, extremely important. And the reason I say it's extremely important is because of this. The Aleph, not only is it the first letter, the Aleph is paramount to a lot of the things we'll find in the scriptures, and we'll go into some of that in a second. So let me scroll down. Let me see if we can get some of this up. So on the screen first, you can see how over time characters can change and morph. This is part of language in general. And just before we go into that, I just want to go off the scripture side of things. The Bible says we have to become like little children. So when we learn our Aleph Beit, we learn our Aleph Tav, we learn the letters or the language the Most High gave us in the beginning, it's showing that we're becoming like children again. It's showing that we're forgetting what we were taught in this world, but we're going back to what the Most High wanted us to speak. So it's very important to learn this. So we're going back right to the beginning, and Aleph, like I said, is the first character, the first Hebrew character, extremely important. And on the screen, you can see, really, we just need to look at the three of them because the last two, the modern and what they call late, are the same. It's just the modern is a bit more of a fancy looking, what they call late Hebrew. Some people will call like modern Hebrew as well. Then you've got the middle one, which some people will call Paleo Hebrew or Proto Hebrew or Old Hebrew. And then you've got early Hebrew, which we call pictograph because that's how we used to write. That's how we used to write. And that's how language morphs over time. That's how letters morph over time. So you'll see how they change and why they change and why it's important to the language we even speak today. So, like I said, on the left hand side, we have the pictograph. Next to that, as you can see, we have. Can you see my mouse and cursor as well?
No.
You can't see my cursor. That doesn't help. Because I'm trying to point at stuff. Can you see it now?
Oh, I can see it now. Yeah, I can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah. So first, you have. I don't know why it's not being where my actual mouse is. But anyway, first we have the early Hebrew. So this is what we call pictograph Hebrew. Then we have what we call Paleo Hebrew. And finally, we have the modern, which is these last two here. Now, in early Hebrew, as you've seen in the word breakdowns that we do, with the Aleph, we have a picture. And in the picture, what do we see? We see what's called a what looks like a head, which you can see here. Let me come down. The mouse business is off center. Yeah, so you see the head. Is it a laggy? Well, you can see what I mean. Is your mouse? Can you put your mouse on the screen now, so they can see what I'm saying? Nah. Okay. I'll have to work out a way of getting my mouse level. Maybe if I do it on here. Tell me if you can see it when I do it on the actual page because I'm doing it from.
Or just zoom in.
Can you see it now? Can you see it now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So for here we have the pictograph Hebrew, and here you can see the head and then two horns. So we can see from the pictograph or from the early Hebrew that it's supposed to be an ox's head. An ox's head. Now, why is that important? Because when we look at the characteristics of an ox, that's what these words that contain the Aleph will have some kind of representation of. That's what they will have. What are the characteristics of an ox? So I was looking at the characteristics of an ox. It will say strength. The first thing that will always come is strength. They're strong animals. They were used to pull heavy loads of time in over long periods of time. They had dependability. Ox are counted upon to be dependable. They're reliable to count it on task. So if the word has the Aleph in it, and we know Aleph is related to the Most High a lot of the times. A lot of the words that have or are to do with the Most High and His only begotten Son have Aleph in it. So you have Yahweh has Aleph in it. The Most High, Yahweh Shai has Aleph in it. You got Adonai. Adonai has Aleph in it. You've got Adawan has Aleph in it. You've got Elohim, which has Aleph in it. All of these are talking about someone who's strong. The Most High is strong. His only begotten Son is strong. They're dependable. Why? Because when the Most High says he's going to come, when he says it's his time, he shows up. They have patience. Ox are known characteristically to be patient. They take their time to do what they need to do. They're practical. They're very practical animals. Same with the Most High. The Most High is a practical person. He sent his only begotten Son to save his chosen people, to be a kinsman redeemer for him. So all of these things are characteristics of them. They're social creatures, so they're usually in herds. And the Most High created beings. The Most High created creatures or people to praise him. He didn't want to be on his own. He created his only begotten Son. Not that he couldn't be, but he's social. He's showing that in these things. And also they're known to be intelligent. They're very intelligent creatures. So even in just that, the singular Aleph on its own, we know and we can see that it's got to have those characteristics. That word that we're making will have those characteristics. And that's the beauty of it. So like I said, there's many things we can gain from this. I'm gonna share a few. I've got a few clips from a video, and then what we'll do, I'll go into the chart and I'll show you something. I'll show you on the whiteboard how you can draw them, or how we draw them, because like I said, everyone might draw them slightly different. They might look slightly different. This is just how it is on this website. But and you'll have to bear with me because I'll be using a mouse to do it. It's not like I've got a pen. If I had a whiteboard that I could use, I would just show you on the whiteboard or a book. But you can practice these at home, and that's what we're trying to get you to do. It's all good seeing it and hearing it, but actually practicing it, writing down your Aleph Tav, practicing your alphabet's going to help you get that understanding. So I've got a couple of clips to share because this just runs you through that kind of morphology of the characters, especially A. This is what we're focusing on now, and how they've become what they are today. So bear with me while I pull those up. Let's start with this one. So I'm going to share this one now. Tell me if you can see it. Can you see it, Ak?
Yeah, we can see it.
And then let me know if you can hear it as well when it plays. You can see it, yeah? So I'm going to play it now.
No, I can't hear it.
Okay. Why is that? Let me try stop sharing.
You need to click on
Let's
share
try
audio
it.
when you do it.
Okay. Let's try it again. Present. Share screen. Yeah, it was already on share audio as well. My computer's a bit slow. Ready?
The first
Let me know
letter
if
of the ancient Hebrew alphabet is the letter Aleph. The Aleph is one of two Hebrew letters that is silent. That is, it makes no sound unless accompanied by another letter. Both its gematria and cardinal values are 1.
How come it stopped?
Now, can you hear it?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay. I asked you and I couldn't hear you. Playing it.
The letter's name is literally translated as ox, as can be seen in Psalm 8, verse 7. The ancient Proto-Hebrew Aleph can be seen in this rock inscription from the Serabit el-Hadim from the Sinai Peninsula, dated to about 1750 BCE. It then evolved to a simpler form around 1000 BCE and can be seen in the Tel Den inscription that is dated to around 800 BCE. This form became known as the Phoenician or Paleo-Hebrew. This form was flipped and became the archaic version of the Greek alpha. It also split the evolution line, eventually became the modern letter A. A different version of this paleo letter shown here from the Moabite stone, dated to around 850 BCE, became the number 1. Around 400 BCE, this letter became the Aleph that is commonly seen in the Dead Sea Scrolls that are dated around the 1st century BCE. Finally, it became the modern version of the Hebrew Aleph, still used today, and can be seen in the Aleppo Codex, dated to about 1000 CE. On the split evolutionary line, we can see how the archaic Greek became the modern Greek and Roman letter A around 1 CE. That was adopted by most modern Latin scripts of today. Come learn the Holy Tongue with us at Teshuva Bible Studies. Lehitra.
And you can see that that's what they don't want to share with people. They don't want people to know. Was I muted? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah. So you can see how the morphology went and how even it molded the language we have today, because that aleph molded into or was formed into the letter A, and that's the first letter of ours. And like I said, even the term alphabet is they're taking from the Hebrew, because it's aleph is the first character in Hebrew, and then you've got beit, which is the second, which makes no sense because technically the whole Hebrew alphabet is aleph to tav. So they just took A to B because that's all they care about. They don't care about the whole journey. They don't care about getting to what the Most High wants for us, the Tav, what the Messiah came to do for us. So it's important that we go into these things, man. Now I got one more clip, and it's only a short clip, but just goes into a similar thing. So it's similar because it looks at how there's words with the aleph in it and how words are formed. But like I said, you can take these words and just look at words. What words have aleph in it? What words? So you've got Abba, which means father. And same way I said with all the words that were to do with the Most High, a father has to be strong. A father has to be dependable. A father has to be all these things that characteristics match an ox. Same with Amma, mother. And a mother has to be strong. A mother has to be dependable. So you can see the characteristics of an ox in the words that make up the aleph. So not make up the aleph, but our aleph is used in. So take this last clip and just drag it into my Chrome. Paste and go. Okay, it's not all the. So I'm just gonna go to a specific part. Computer struggling. Present. Share screen. Share screen. Share. When I go to this part. Okay, let me know if you can hear it.
Audience, meet Olive. And Olive
Yeah, we can hear it.
always has a connection. God. That might be why it's the only letter in the alphabet that has no pronunciation. It's not a vowel, it's not a consonant, it's completely silent. And you can find that connection to God in the words that begin with Aleph. Aleph means the leader of an army. Ahav, that's a good one. That means love. Most of the names for God, obviously, are going to start with Aleph, right? Elohim, Adonai, as well as the name for our species. Adam. The second letter is Bet.
We're not gonna go into bet. So
That's where the Greeks got the word for alpha. Chemical language. The chemical name for nylon is C6H11NO brackets lowercase n. Nice name, huh? It's pretty bulky, but it's actually a pretty useful name because it tells us something about what the substance is and how we could recreate it. The chemical language, like Hebrew, tries to describe reality from the inside.
That's why in Hebrew, by the way, what's the word for thing? Davar. What's the word for word? Davar. Why is it the exact same word in the Holy Tongue? Because when God spoke it, it became the thing.
Did you know that there's a word in the very first verse of the Bible?
So yeah, so that just goes into a lot of English language. The words are built up, and that's what we were going into. But as I said, in this kind of segment now, what we'll try and do is go into the specifics of this. So today we've looked at Aleph, we've looked at the characteristics, we've looked at some of the use cases in which Aleph has been put in, the words it's being used in, and why those characteristics fit those words. So follow us along. Like I said, what I'll try to do next time is have it so all the permissions and everything so I can show you on the whiteboard. But I can see that it's lagging on whatever, so it's probably most likely not gonna work. But I hope you got something from that. Just that little segment of learning about the letter Aleph is one of the most important letters in the Hebrew language. So I don't know if you guys have anything to add to the study of the word or the letter Salakia Aleph.
The only thing is they were saying that it's got no
Oh yeah, we don't believe that. No, you can touch on it though, Aldo.
That don't make no sense when he's saying got no sound, and then he's saying, the
It makes a
words
sound.
are in and it makes a sound.
Yeah, I know. But that's a common theme, isn't it? Like you brought up, which is important to note for the listener, especially that a lot of the time you can't really listen to these modern scholars on like Hebrew because they'll tell you certain things are silent and they're not. The actual what we call the Lashawan Kadash in the Holy Tongue, they all had sounds.
Right, and even the languages that it was translated into, like the Greek and the Latin and the English, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has a is a sound.
Can't.
And you can't have if the Aleph has no sound, how would they know that it makes the A sound?
Can't. How would they know the phonetic?
Right. So, they haven't got a clue what they're talking about. They haven't got a clue what they're talking about. And it says it has no sound unless there's another letter that comes after it. But in the other languages, they say it's an A, it's A. So that don't make no sense. So it's there, it has no sound. So if you put it there, you can't say it unless you put another letter after it. What kind of sense does that make? Anyway, madness.
Can't.
But yeah, we're gonna go through the letters. The word Aleph is the number one, which means first, right? Which indicates Messiah. He was the first. He's the head. He also the head, right? It's strong, right? Head of the house, right? So it's talking about Messiah. Messiah was the first created or first creature ever made out of the Father, and it represents him, the beginning of all living things. Right, outside of the Father, that is, because the Father is eternal. It's outside of time and space. right? So that's what it represents in its purest form. That's what it represents in its purest form. Well, I don't know if Eva's got anything to say.
Khan. Eba? Yeah,
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
You can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, what I would add to that is the fact that they made a good point where they said that that the word and thing is the same thing, because when the Most High speaks, it becomes that thing.
Right.
So
right.
when you got the picture of when you look at the Paleo Hebrew and the pictograph Hebrew, when you look at it, it shows like an ox or an animal like an ox with the horns and whatever. So when you look at it, it gives you an idea of what it is. Because like the Ak was saying, it gives you a characteristic. What's the characteristic of the ox? And you look into it, and then that's how you get some understanding. So yeah, so I would say that was a good way to look at it.
Okay.
So is he done with the Ak?
Yeah, Khan. That
Yeah,
was.
yeah. Okay. So to close out, then we're gonna go through the final few scriptures that we always go through when we speak about the gospel of the kingdom, and I'm just gonna bring them up on the screen now. So the first one we're gonna start off with is Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20. So if you want to read that one for me, Ak.
Khan, it hasn't come up on my screen yet. 1 second. Isaiah chapter 20.
8 and verse 20.
Isaiah chapter 8 and verse 20. To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them.
To the law and to the testimony, to the song of Moses and to the song of the Lamb, to Torah and to Messiah. If you're not speaking about both of these things, it's because there's no light there. It's like having a torch and no batteries, or batteries with no torch, right? Both go hand in hand, right? Torah spoke of Messiah and Messiah spoke of Torah. So, you need both of them. Also, without Torah, where's your order coming from? Without Messiah, where's your redemption coming from? Because you're missing part of the puzzle if you don't have both of them, right? And they should be your foundation in this walk, right? Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 3, right? Read that for me, Ak.
2 Corinthians chapter 4 and reading from verse 3. But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost.
Right, so if our gospel is hid, it's hid to them that are lost, either those that are comfortable in captivity, like my Ak likes to say, they're happy where they are, or there's those that are going to find out at a later date. So some of our people that are going to wake up in the right time, right season for them, and also some people are going to have harsh things happen to them to get the understanding. Like some people are going to have to see missiles flying and drop before they realize that the brothers on the street corner that were talking to them were speaking the truth, right? And they're going to find out in that time. It's the same thing when even though it's probably less extreme in terms of you got bombs dropping in front of you, but Apostle Paul was on the road to Damascus. He was knocked off a donkey and made blind, right, and spoken to supernaturally. Now these things happened to him, and that's how he got the understanding. He didn't have the understanding before that, but something had to happen like that for him to get it. But he got it in the right time and the right season for him. And in the same light, some people are gonna have to have like something harsh so that they jolt out of their sleep, right, and wake up, right. But that'll be the right time and the right season for them, right. So let's go now to Matthew chapter 24 and verse 14, right. So read that for me, Ak.
Matthew chapter 24 and reading from verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
Right, so the gospel is going to be preached everywhere to all nations, right, as a witness to all nations. Why? Because it has to be said to us first, so that we know the kingdom's coming in, right? And if we want to take our place, then we have to do the work to take it, and also is to go out to the nations to tell them to let us go, because the longer they have us in captivity, is the worse the judgment is going to be when the Messiah returns. And the scripture tells us that we're meant to reward her, or Babylon, as they rewarded us, and double unto her double for all of her sins. So we know they're not going to let us go, but this is there as a witness to them, so that nobody can say in that day they weren't told, because the Israelites are going to have been told to get ready. Otherwise, you're going to be part of that punishment. And the nations were told to let us go, and they didn't listen. So that's there as a witness to both of us, to both the Israelites and to the Gentiles, right, for their respective things. right? So continuing on, we're going to go to Matthew chapter 26, and we're going to read from verse 6, right? So read that for me, Ash.
Matthew chapter 26 and reading from verse 6. Now, when Jesus was in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, there came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, Why see the woman? For she have wrought a good work upon me. For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always. For in that she hath poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman hath done, be told for a memorial of her.
Right. So wherever the gospel is preached, wherever we preach the gospel, the memorial of this woman's going to be spoken of. Why? Because when the Messiah came, he didn't come speaking his own words. He came speaking the words of the Father that sent him. And the Father says, any words which he shall speak in my name, right, which you don't listen to, is going to be required of you. And that's why we're going to listen to it. And even in the so-called New Testament, it says the same thing, right? But they use the words destroyed from among the people, meaning we'll be put to death if we don't listen to the words which the Messiah speaks in the name of the Heavenly Father. So we're going to listen to the words which he spoke. Also, she comforted him at the time when he was going to go through the tribulation, right? So this is a small thing that we can do, because he had his beard ripped out, he was spat on, he was hung on a cross, he was hung on a tree, right? And yeah, we had those things happen to us, right? We had these things happen to us. However, we sinned and he didn't. But without that, without him doing that, we wouldn't have had this second chance. So this is a small thing. Like I said, it's a small thing that we can do. So wherever we preach the gospel of the kingdom, this is what's going to be spoken of, the memorial of this woman, right? So now let's go to Matthew chapter 23, and we're going to read from verse 37 to verse 39.
Reading from 37. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, thou that killest the prophets, and stonest them which are sent unto thee, how often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathereth her chickens under her wings, and ye would not? Behold, your house is left unto you desolate. For I say unto you, ye shall not see me henceforth till ye shall say, Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord.
Right? So this is Messiah speaking. This is red letter, right? He's saying, "Oh Jerusalem, Jerusalem." So he's talking to the Israelites, man. He says, "Thou that killest the prophets and stonest them which are sent unto thee." Because whenever the Most High and Messiah sent prophets to us, we killed them. We either hated them and hated them without a cause, and that's because the scripture says that, if you hate your brother without a cause, then that's the same as killing them, right? And it also says that we stone them as well, which is what happened, man. We wanted the smooth words, right? And it says, "How often would I have gathered thy children together, even as a hen gathered her chickens under her wings, and ye would not?" Meaning, there were so many times we could have gathered you together, but you didn't want to listen, right? And then he goes on to say, "Behold, your house is left unto you desolate." Meaning, now look, your house is desolate, and our house is going to be desolate until we become that one stick again. So right now, we're two nations, two separate people, still, right? Even more than that, really, because we're scattered all over the earth, right? And we're slowly coming together, starting to come into camps, but we need to become that one camp again, that one nation, right? And until then, we're going to be desolate, right? And then he goes on to say that we're not going to see him from that point onwards until we are saying, "Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord," meaning we understand the real reason why he came, that he came for the children of Israel, and he came to redeem them so that the kingdom of God could come on the earth, and that he could lift up the kingdom back to the Father. That's what his role was, and that's how we know. He said, "Blessed is he who cometh in the name of the Lord." And the 144,000 on Mount Zion, they're going to be saying that, right? The elect of Israel are going to be saying that, right? Because they're going to understand, and we're all going to be saying, "Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord." Right. So with that, I hope you got something from today's live. Please check out our website, israeliteheritage.com. Check out our Facebook page, Israelite Apostolic Heritage. Please check out our individual pages. I'm with Solomon, got Yardan Banya Sharala, and also Thakawa Shalama. Our inboxes are always open, so if you want to message us on there, you can do that. We also have a form on the bottom of our website as well, so if you want to contact us on there, that's also not an issue. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so when we do go live, you are notified, and when we do upload a video, you are notified. Please do the same for our other channels as well, which is Israelite Apostolic Heritage Through the Fire, or IAHTTF, or also our other page, which is Israelite Apostolic Heritage Regeneration. That one's just a second channel, so if this one goes down, we've always got that second one to go to, so that you know where to go. Basically, if they ever do take this channel down, because they're always putting strikes up when the truth's coming out. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to pass it over to the elder to hear his final statement, and then we're going to pass it over to the act to his final statement, and then we're going to end out the live there.
Yeah, and as I always end out with one word, and that word is endure. Endure all things for the Most High. You know, the world is getting ready for a shake-up. It's getting ready, and it's the Most High. So much things are happening on the planet. You know, we can't keep up with it all. But our job is not to see everything and to know everything. It's just so that we have the understanding that things are changes are in the works. You know, you have the time of this rulership, this age. The age of the nations are at its end point, and the next age is coming in, and the next age is the rulership of the Israelites, and when that comes to its fruition, it will be here on earth forever. So it's not worth throwing that away when you know you're an Israelite. It's not worth throwing that away, you know, because our nation, our people, our generations have been through so much. So if you throw it away, then everything that we've done up until this point is meaningless. Our ancestors, the struggles they've been through, will mean nothing. So you got to keep the faith. You got to stay prayed up. You got to fast, right? And as the saying goes, pray without ceasing. That's what Messiah told us to do. Pray without ceasing. So I know we prayed 3 times a day in the ancient times, but Messiah says there's no limit on how much you can pray. You know, you can pray. You can pray for anything. Pray for anything. You know, pray for the smallest things, because the Most High provides everything. And because we didn't trust in Him, we didn't have faith in Him for all things, He made us have to depend on our enemies for all things. And that's why we're in the predicament we're in now. So keep your faith, right? Keep walking and endure. Get yourself prepared. This is a time for preparation. The Most High has given us ample time. He hasn't left us in the lurch. He hasn't left us without understanding. He's given us ample time to get prepared for what He's going to bring on the earth. And so all we got to do is be prepared and then endure, right? And then we will receive the blessings that He's promised to our ancestors. And that's it. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that, right? And with that, my prayer for the house of Israel is that the Most High blesses you and keeps you, makes His face shine upon you, be gracious unto you, lifts up His countenance upon you, blesses you and guides you and gives you His peace. And I pray also that He puts the spirit on the heathen to show you compassion in these last days, wherever you're scattered to, right? In your respective captivities, right? So with that, I'm going to say, Shalom, Shabbat Shalom to those who are still in their Shabbat, and all love, peace, and blessings, and all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Amashiach, Yahweh Shai, and Abad Babal. Amen and Amen.
Oh man, so I'll pass it over to the act, see his final statement.
So yeah, like the elder said, make sure you endure, stay prayed up. Like I always say, the scriptures are going to be your stability of the time. So it's imperative we read the scriptures so we know them. Because if the scriptures are going to be in our hearts, yeah, they'll be in our hearts, but nothing to say we can't learn, brush up on them every day, and get your head in the book, because that's going to be stability when things kick off, and when the proverbial dong hits the fan, then you're going to be looking where to go. And not every Israelite's going to be on there's not going to be Israelite. There may not be Israelites on your corner no more. So what are you going to do? You got to pick up the book and learn how to follow the instructions in the book. So with that, I'm going to say, all praises to the Most High, and may the Most High command the Ruach HaKodesh to dwell with you wherever you are, that we can be beacons of light, firstly to the children of Israel, and then to the world, that the world may know peace. And Shabbat Shalom if you're still in your Shabbat, and Shalom to the children of Israel.
So with that, we are gonna say Shabbat Shalom, Wabati Walama, peace and blessings, and we're gonna say all praises to Yahweh and Bahashem Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. Amen and Amen. Amen.